For a single woman approaching her 30s, nothing is more demoralizing than celebrating a birthday. Youth slips away with no regrets, while the looming reality of turning 30 presses closer with every step. Time becomes painfully visible, materializing into tear troughs and crow's feet on her face. Sweetie, happy 29th birthday. The exaggerated birthday greeting rang out in sync with her alarm, causing Tion Xin to reluctantly open her eyes. As expected, her mother's beaming smile was hiding a slew of silent but piercing accusations like, "Why are you still here at 29? And do you not feel guilty living off us?" With disheveled hair, Tion Xin dragged herself out of bed, muttering, "I have to go to work," and quickly slipped out of the room before her mom could say more. Upon arriving at school, Tion Xin was greeted with a gift from the research office. "You want me to take over Class 3, Grade 1, she stammered in shock. The chaos that Class 3 brought to the school was no secret, and using the term terrifying wouldn't be an exaggeration. There's no choice. The original homeroom teacher, Ms. Zhang, found out she's pregnant and is at risk of a miscarriage. She needs to take maternity leave right away. The department had patted her shoulder sympathetically, clearly aware of the heavy responsibility. Xiao Tian, since you're not married yet, we'll have to ask you to handle it." Why the discrimination against singles? Tion Xin screamed internally. "Just because I'm not married yet doesn't mean I don't have a boyfriend. This will totally mess up my plans to settle down." Despite her frustration, she tried to console herself with a bit of AQ spirit. "Times have changed," she mused. "People's general moral quality has improved, and family education levels have steadily increased. Kids being mischievous is just part of their nature. After all, I've been teaching for over 5 years now. Handling this bunch should be a breeze." Comforting herself with these thoughts, Tion Xin forced a warm, teacherly smile as she confidently pushed open the classroom door. As soon as she stepped inside, a paper airplane hit her squarely on the forehead. The room erupted into laughter, causing her smile to falter slightly. Yes, times have changed, she thought wryly. Just like how debtors are now treated like grandfathers, students have become their teachers' masters. Tion Xin was fortunate to live in such an era, but equally unfortunate to be a teacher in it. "All right, everyone, please settle down," she said, accepting her fate as she bent down to pick up the paper airplane. Walking up to the podium, she cleared her throat, attempting to establish some semblance of authority. "Hello, class. I'm your new homeroom teacher, Miss Tian." Her firm and steady introduction did the trick. The noise level dropped by half. "Although I'm your teacher in class, I hope to be your friend in life, so we can all get along happily." After delivering her opening statement, she looked around the room. "Any questions?" The students huddled together, whispering excitedly among themselves. "Teacher." One boy in the back row raised his hand. Before Tion Xin could call on him, he grinned cheekily and asked, "Are you married?" Zhuo Yanzi. Tion Xin furiously vented into her phone. "These little brats are driving me insane." While she was complaining about her students, she was silently cursing the person on the other end of the line. "Damn you, Zhuo Yanji. Why haven't you married me yet?" "You could have refused," came the casual reply from the other side, clearly not as worked up as she was. Zhuo Yanji was Tion Xion's boyfriend, and they had been dating for 8 years. 8 years. An eternity in relationship years, yet they still hadn't made it down the aisle. "What excuse do I have to refuse? It's not like I'm pregnant." The more she spoke, the more aggrieved she felt. In response, she heard a low, inexplicable chuckle. "By the way, I can't be with you tonight," he suddenly remembered. "What's so important this time?" Tion Xion's tone was less than friendly. Lately, Zhuo Yanji had been canceling on her far too often. "Work stuff," he sighed. "I'll call you after. Be careful on your way, don't drink too much, and send me a WeChat when you get home." At least that last part sounded somewhat boyfriend-like. Though Tion Xin had no real enthusiasm for celebrating her birthday and would have loved to forget the fact that she was now 29, the fact that he hadn't even mentioned it, let alone wished her a happy birthday, was a complete boyfriend failure. After the call, her frustration only deepened, leaving her even more gloomy. By the time she clocked out, the driver who was supposed to pick her up, Zhuo Yanji, had flaked, so she had to hail a cab alone to attend the wedding. The bride, Wu Xia, had been her college roommate. They had been closer than most classmates, but after graduation, they'd gradually lost touch, becoming the type who only exchanged generic holiday greetings. Although their relationship was lukewarm now, Wu Xia had invited her warmly, and Tian Xian was happy to attend. After all, Wu Xia's marriage was the product of a long-term relationship that had started during their college years, almost a decade-long journey of love, now culminating in marriage. Tian Xian hoped she might learn something from it. With these thoughts in mind, Tian Xian walked into the hotel with reverence. The bride, Wu Xia, looked radiant, even more beautiful than she had in college. But the groom didn't seem to match her memory at all. When did Senior Yang get so bulky? Taking advantage of a moment during the photo session, Tian Xian whispered to Wu Xia, carefully choosing her words. "Did you not read the invitation?" Wu Xia looked at her in disbelief. Tian Xian was confused. The invitation? What was there to read? Time, location, names, that's it, right? Her slow-to-click brain finally registered that something was off. "Yang Fan and I broke up 2 years ago," Wu Xia whispered softly. "After 8 years of dating, I gave up. If he wasn't going to marry me, then it was time to end it. I met my husband through a matchmaking service. We had a flash marriage." Tian Xian stood there in stunned silence, completely forgetting to hand over her red envelope, as the hope she had been clinging to shattered into 1,000 pieces. Tian Xian and Zhuo Yanji met during a seminar in the second half of their junior year. The keynote speaker was a renowned chemistry professor from a U.S. university, and as a member of the campus etiquette team, Tian Xian stood on stage in a cheongsam, welcoming the distinguished guests. Midway through the seminar, Zhuo Yanji, as the student representative, delivered a speech. He was confident and graceful, and in that moment, Tian Xian's innocent heart was instantly captivated. After the seminar ended, Tian Xian changed out of her uniform and returned to the seating area to retrieve her bag, only to run into Zhuo Yanji, who was taking a photo with the keynote speaker. The school reporters were preparing their cameras for a big photo session when they noticed Tian Xian still lingering in the background, awkwardly peeking around. "Hey you!" One of the reporters waved at Tian Xian, signaling for her to move out of the shot. However, the overly oblivious Tian Xian misinterpreted the gesture. Pointing at herself, she received a confirming nod from the reporter and happily trotted over to Zhuo Yanji's side, striking a poised stance for the photo. The situation became incredibly awkward. The reporter scratched his head, about to gently correct her, but Zhuo Yanji raised his arm and placed it casually around Tian Xian's waist. Tian Xian jumped in surprise, and in that instant, the camera flashes went off in a flurry, capturing their very first photo together. Thanks to this unexpected moment, Tian Xian smoothly initiated contact with the chemistry department's prince. After learning the truth behind the misunderstanding, she was convinced that her beauty had won Zhuo Yanji over. Why else would he have gone along with it? It wasn't vanity on Tian Xian's part. After all, Zhuo Yanji himself, with his high standards, had confirmed her attractiveness. "What do you like about me?" During the early stages of their relationship, Tian Xian, like most girls, had asked this classic question. Without much thought, Zhuo Yanji replied, "You're pretty." "Okay." Tian Xian nodded, satisfied, but naturally. She pressed on. "What else?" "That's it." His answer was even more succinct this time. Their college dusk romance lasted for over a year before they both faced graduation. Tian Xian became an elementary school teacher, while Zhuo Yanji, instead of following in his classmates' footsteps to become a chemistry nerd, abandoned his major and switched to finance. "Then why did you even study chemistry?" Tian Xian asked, intrigued. "I didn't want to waste 4 years studying finance in college. It's something you can learn without a degree," Zhuo Yanji answered in a maddeningly casual tone. But you spent 4 years learning chemistry, and you'll forget it all eventually. Isn't that still a waste of time? Just like how she couldn't remember anything about trigonometry or linear algebra now. If I hadn't studied chemistry, I wouldn't have met you. He nonchalantly dropped this bombshell. While she was touched, Tian Xian couldn't resist playing coy. Well, you might have met an even better girl. True. Zhua Yanji nodded in agreement. Tian Xian was visibly wounded. Why was it that other girls' boyfriends were all warm and caring, but hers was always so blunt? Yet, despite his sharp comments, the two of them had muddled through the years together. Though they never experienced any major relationship crises, now that they had passed the ideal age for marriage, their relationship still hadn't taken a significant step forward. It was long overdue for some alarm bells. At the wedding banquet, Tian Xian ate, without tasting the food, her stomach feeling unsettled. She left early. Standing in the cold wind, she shrank into her coat collar and was just about to call for a ride when Zhu Yanji called. "Are you done?" "Just finished." Tian Xian sniffled. "I'm about to call a car to go home." "Wait, I see you." At his words, Tian Xian lifted her head and saw Zhu Yanji's car slowly pulling up in front of her. "Did you finish your work?" she asked as she got into the car, fastening her seatbelt. "Yeah." Zhu Yanji was never one to elaborate on work. "Check the glove compartment." Tian Xian, confused, opened the compartment as instructed, and her heart skipped a beat at the sight of a small, royal blue velvet box. Is my prince finally going to propose and rescue me from the uncertainty of turning 29? Happy birthday. Zhu Yanji's belated congratulations reached her ears. "I thought you forgot." Tian Xian carefully cradled the box, touched, but something still felt off. "I did forget. My social app reminded me." Why does he always have to ruin the moment? Fine. It's her own fault for being shallow and falling for Zhu Yanji, this heartless boyfriend. At least there was a ring, so she couldn't expect candlelit dinners and dramatic knee-bending proposals. Zhu Yanji turned on the car's stereo, and Elgar's Salad d'Amour began to play, a fitting soundtrack that further convinced Tian Xian she was right. With a heart full of joy, she reverently opened the velvet box. Inside, the small diamond gleamed brightly, embedded in a pair of earrings. It was as if a bucket of cold water had been poured over her. Tian Xian froze, holding the box in stunned silence. "What's wrong? Don't you like them? You said they were pretty last time," Zhu Yanji asked, noticing her lack of reaction. "I don't even have pierced ears. Are you blind?" Tian Xian felt an overwhelming sense of being toyed with and angrily shoved the box back into the compartment. "Want me to go with you to get them pierced tomorrow?" Her blunt boyfriend tried to offer a solution. "Pierce your head. I don't want to talk to you anymore." Tian Xian angrily slumped into her seat, turning her face away, refusing Zhu Yanji's offer to continue the night. That night, Tian Xian had a dream. She dreamed of walking down the aisle in a long-desired mermaid wedding dress, her veil lifted by the groom. Just as they were about to share a tender kiss, she suddenly looked up and saw a completely unfamiliar face. Tian Xian let out a brief scream before waking up in a cold sweat, sitting in the darkness, her back damp with fear. After turning 29, Tian Xian felt like her whole life was shrouded in a layer of misfortune. She had only been in charge of Class 3 for a week, and complaints from subject teachers were already pouring in. Before she could even deal with those, 2 kids got into a fight during PE class in the afternoon, and one of them ended up with a bruise. She hurriedly sought out the PE teacher to understand the situation, contacted the parents, and then spoke with both children individually. The one who got hit was sobbing and couldn't explain much, so Tian Xian turned her attention to the child who had done the hitting. "Feng Xiaozuan," she said, pulling the child aside. "Hitting people is wrong, but there must be a reason you did it. Can you tell me why?" The boy had a stern expression, refusing to meet her eyes, arms crossed, and his thin lips tightly pressed together. Looking closely, Tian Xian realized this was the same kid who cheekily asked if she was married the other day. Just as she was lost in thought, the other child's parent arrived. Tion Xin quickly went over to explain that their child had injured their knee after being shoved by Feng Xiaozuan. The parent, fortunately, was quite reasonable. After checking the injury and seeing that it wasn't too serious, they simply requested an apology from Feng Xiaozuan. Tion Xin breathed a sigh of relief and crouched down to coax him. Xiaozuan, no matter what, it was wrong to push someone. You should apologize to Zhonglei. Feng Xiaozuan's eyes widened. I'm not saying sorry. I didn't do anything wrong. Tion Xin had already prepared half of her speech, ready to talk about friendship and make a closing statement, but the child refused to take the easy way out and instead doubled down on his defiance. The parent didn't intervene, clearly waiting for Tion Xin to use her persuasive skills as a teacher. Miss Tion, I'm so sorry I'm late. At that crucial moment, Feng Xiaozuan's parent finally arrived. Tion Xin turned around, feeling a sense of relief. A man in a white shirt hurried into the classroom. The man looked close to 40, but didn't show his age at all. He casually held his suit jacket over his arm, appearing travel-worn. Tion Xin couldn't help but admire him. There really were people besides Ruyenji who could make a simple white shirt look so good. I'm really sorry for the trouble Xiaozuan has caused you. The man wasted no time, pressing Xiaozuan's head down in a bow toward the other parent. I drove here. Let's take the kids to the hospital together. We'll cover the medical expenses. Seeing this, the other parent's attitude softened. After checking that the child's knee was only scraped, and since the child was now complaining of hunger instead of crying, they waved it off, saying it was fine. With that settled, Tion Xin glanced at her watch. It was already 7 p.m. Miss Tion, if it's convenient, may I treat you to a meal? Xiaozuan's father offered sincerely. I'm sorry to have kept you here so late because of Xiaozuan. No, it's really not necessary. I'm Xiaozuan's homeroom teacher. This is just part of my job. Please don't worry about it. Tion Xin declined quickly. Oh, I've been so flustered I forgot to introduce myself. The man slapped his forehead and extended his hand. I'm Feng Zikuan, Xiaozuan's father. Tion Xin blinked, and without thinking, shook the large, warm hand he offered. In that case, at least let me give you a ride home. Feng Zikuan continued, his voice calm and gentle, yet with a subtle firmness that hinted at his leadership skills. It's rush hour now, and the buses are crowded. It'll be hard to get a taxi. Okay, if you insist. Unable to refuse such a polite offer, Tion Xin reluctantly agreed. As expected, they hit traffic on the way. The car moved slowly, and Xiaozuan, curled up in the back seat, was unusually quiet. When Tion Xin turned to check, she saw that he had fallen asleep against the window. Feng Zikuan draped his suit jacket over Xiaozuan. I owe a lot to Xiaozuan, Feng Zikuan sighed quietly. His mother passed away when he was young, and I've been busy with work. His grandmother raised him in the early years. Tion Xin listened silently. She had reviewed Xiaozuan's student file and knew he came from a single-parent household, but she had assumed his parents were divorced. She hadn't expected that he had lost his mother at such a young age. He's been mischievous since he was little, with his stubborn temper. I have no idea how to communicate with him. Feng Zikuan shook his head, smiling bitterly. People say I'm a successful businessman, but I think I'm just a failure as a father. Not at all. You've had to manage everything on your own, which is really difficult. Tion Xin offered some comfort. Miss Tion, are you married? Feng Zikuan suddenly asked. Tion Xin felt a bit awkward. Why did both father and son like asking the same question? Even though it made her uncomfortable, she had no choice but to answer honestly. No, I'm not. Miss Tion is so outstanding. You must have plenty of admirers. Are you not married because your standards are too high? Feng Zikuan laughed. Tion Xin awkwardly laughed it off, inwardly cursing Zhuyenji 10,000 times. After they passed the congested area, the road cleared up and 10 minutes later, they arrived at Tion Xion's home. Miss Tion, take care, Feng Zikuan said, parking steadily by the curb and nodding toward her. I'll be counting on you to look after Xiaozuan. Of course, don't worry, Tian Xian replied, leaning forward slightly to return the gesture. See you tomorrow. He smiled as he bid her farewell. The black Mercedes merged into the traffic, disappearing among the neon lights at the end of the street. Tian Xian stood there, scratching her head in confusion. See you tomorrow? The next day, Tian Xian finally understood what Feng Zikuan had meant by see you tomorrow. The class parent committee is treating the teachers to dinner tonight. You're coming, right? The English teacher patted Tian Xian on the shoulder. Huh? Tonight? She hadn't quite caught on. Yeah, you're the homeroom teacher. You're the main guest, so you can't bail on us. The English teacher chuckled, then left the office with her teaching materials. Tian Xian looked down at her phone, seeing Zhuo Yanji waiting for her reply to his dinner invitation. After thinking for a moment, she decided she still hadn't gotten over her frustration, and now she had a legitimate excuse to make him wait. Feeling quite pleased with herself, she typed out her response with a flourish. I'm not going. Just as she hit send, Zhuo Yanji's call came through. Got plans tonight? Yeah. Tian Xian replied curtly, silently thinking to herself, you're not the only one with a busy schedule. Elementary school teachers have social engagements too? His tone had a hint of amusement. The parent committee invited the teachers to dinner, she blurted out, unable to resist his baiting. Where's it happening? Zhuo Yanji pressed on, unusually insistent. Out of habit, Tian Xian gave him the name of the restaurant, but immediately regretted it. She should have kept up the mystery, at least made him feel a bit jealous. Reflecting on that, she realized just how single-minded she'd been. Ever since she started dating Zhuo Yanji, she'd automatically shut out all other signs of affection from other men. Now, stuck on this one tree that seemed to be leading nowhere, she wondered if it was time to reconnect her Wi-Fi, so to speak. But with her profession, the only men she interacted with were colleagues and parents. Her male colleagues were few and far from attractive, and as for the parents, she certainly had no desire to get involved in any messy situations. Yet, exceptions could always arise. Miss Tian, can you drink a little? A deep male voice snapped Tian Xian back to reality. Blinking, she saw Feng Zikuan pouring wine into a decanter. Ms. Zhang is pregnant and can't drink, so Ms. Tian, you'll have to make up for it, another parent joked with a smile. Tian Xian wasn't good at handling situations like this, so she reluctantly raised her wine glass. Just a little, thank you. In these settings, if you don't refuse at the start, it becomes harder to say no later on. Tian Xian, being soft-hearted, couldn't resist the parents' persistent toasts and ended up drinking with each of them. Feng Zikuan began stepping in to drink on her behalf, but soon other parents started teasing him about it. Feeling guilty, Tian Xian put on a brave face, pretending to be a drinking champion. The result, as expected, was disastrous. By the end of the dinner, Tian Xian was so dizzy she could barely think straight. She felt as though she was walking on clouds, with only a fraction of her consciousness still intact. Miss Tian, are you all right? Feng Zikuan noticed her unsteady steps and quickly moved to support her arm. I'll take you home. She was about to refuse when a wave of nausea hit her. Seeing this, Feng Zikuan swiftly helped her over to a trash can near the entrance. Tian Xian retched violently, while Feng Zikuan held her, gently patting her back and speaking soothingly. You'll feel better once it's all out. Once she finally stopped, Tian Xian felt embarrassed by the whole situation. But Feng Zikuan had been kind in offering his help, and if she suddenly distanced herself, it would seem overly dramatic. Just as she was caught in this dilemma, someone suddenly pulled her into a tight embrace. Sorry for the trouble my girlfriend caused you. Tian Xian found herself leaning against a familiar chest, and Zhuo Yanji's deep voice echoed in her ears. No trouble at all. We were the ones who overdid it and got Miss Tian drunk. I'm really sorry about that. Feng Zikuan responded smoothly, his expression and tone immediately adjusting to the situation. If there's nothing else, I'll take her home now, Zhuo Yanji said politely, but with an unmistakable undertone of possession. Take her home, not send her home. That one word made the closeness of their relationship abundantly clear. Before Tian Xian could fully process Zhuo Yanji's rare display of jealousy, she found herself suddenly lifted off the ground in his arms. The motion made her feel even dizzier. It wasn't until she was placed in the passenger seat that Zhuo Yanji finally spoke, shattering any romantic illusions she might have had. You're heavy. Half asleep, Tian Xian slouched to her seat, pouting in dissatisfaction. Why are you being so nice today? Well, Happy Valentine's Day, Zhuo Yanji said as he leaned over to buckle her seatbelt. Today's not Valentine's Day, Tian Xian mumbled, feeling like she still had a bit of clarity left. Then, happy birthday, he replied, starting the car. Huh? Is it my birthday today? Tian Xian felt even dizzier now, slurring her words as she protested. Hey, don't think you can fool me just because I'm drunk. My birthday's already passed. Zhuo Yanji gave her a meaningful glance. It's my birthday. Tian Xian was struck speechless. She had forgotten Zhuo Yanji's birthday. Zhuo Yanji didn't seem inclined to make a fuss about it, driving in silence. Yet the quiet only made her more anxious. What should she do? Could she blame this on her social media apps? Tian Xian fell asleep while reflecting on herself, snoring recklessly. She had no idea what happened next. When she woke up, she felt disoriented again, vaguely sensing that she was still in a half-awake dream. The furnishings around her felt somewhat unfamiliar, but gradually, this strangeness transformed into a familiar warmth, making it all seem real. This was Zhuo Yanji's territory, and they had spent the night alone together. Tian Xian sat up with a start, instinctively checking whether her clothes were in disarray. She was still wearing yesterday's outfit, all buttons neatly done, and the smell of alcohol lingered around her, causing a twinge of disappointment in her heart. This disappointment made Tian Xian question herself. Did she really want to have a passionate, indescribable encounter with Zhuo Yanji? They say women are like wolves at 30 and tigers at 40. An absurd image of herself transforming into a wolf howling at the full moon flashed through her mind, and the last remnants of sleep vanished. With bright eyes, she got off the bed and found new towels and a toothbrush on the small table in the bedroom. Underneath some bread and milk was a note. There's a meeting to attend in the morning. It's the weekend, so rest well and help me do some laundry. Tian Xian had clearly grown numb to Zhuo Yanji's audacity. She took a shower, ate the breakfast he had left, and wandered around the tiny, yet fully equipped rented apartment. Zhuo Yanji's hometown was in a nearby county. His family was average. His father was a retired factory worker, and his mother was a housewife. He had been struggling in the city alone for years and had made a decent living, but over the past decade, housing prices had skyrocketed, pushing many people to merely look and sigh at the market. Even though Zhuo Yanji earned a good income, he could only afford to rent temporarily. After finishing the laundry, it was already past 11. As she entered housewife mode, Tian Xian opened the fridge to cook, only to find it empty. Well, not entirely empty. There was a key inside, and underneath it lay another note. I knew you'd want to cook for me. Go buy some groceries, okay? Though Tian Xian was already numb to it, Zhuo Yanji's audacity reached new heights each time. His place was quite convenient. At the supermarket downstairs, Tian Xian found plenty of fresh ingredients. As she carried her groceries back upstairs, she asked herself why she was obediently going to buy groceries and then obediently returning to cook. She answered herself, because she had become utterly captivated by Zhuo Yanji. After coming to this conclusion, she silently lit a candle for herself in her mind and slipped into a worry mode. This couldn't go on like this. What if one day he dumped her? Would she consider ending it all? She recalled her mother's advice before she went to college. Never date someone of the same age. It was fine if he was 5 or 6 years older. You'll be an old woman at 50, while your husband will still be carefree, her mother had said. Tian Xian had brushed it off, believing she would be a beautiful woman at 50, making it impossible for her husband to leave her. However, now, she suddenly felt her mother's words turning into eternal truths. Zhuo Yanji radiated an air that suggested he would be charming at 50, while she, not yet aging, had already started thinking of herself as still retaining her charm. She remembered how, during the new year, facing the relentless pressure to marry, her mother had added insult to injury by saying, "See, I told you not to date someone your age. You didn't listen, did you?" In truth, her mother was even more anxious than Tian Xian. She just wanted to score points with her words. As she thought about this, a chilling breeze blew in through the window. Sigh, good times don't last. Even the springtime of love can experience an unexpected chill. Tian Xian chopped onions, tears streaming down her face. Once she started reminiscing, she couldn't stop. She found herself thinking about that Valentine's Day in the year they graduated from university. Strictly speaking, that was their first official Valentine's Day. After dinner, Zhui Yanji had gifted her a hard-boiled egg, telling her to peel it and eat it when she got back. So, when her dorm mates flaunted their flowers, new bags, and jewelry, Tian Xian was cluelessly peeling her egg. As she nearly finished peeling the shell, she noticed some words magically appearing on the egg white. Excitedly, she peeled off the rest of the shell, revealing, "In spite of you and me and the whole silly world going to pieces around us, I love you." This was a line from Gone with the Wind, spoken by Rhett Butler to Scarlett O'Hara. Tian Xian had told Zhui Yanji that Gone with the Wind was her favorite movie, bar none. She still remembered seeing that beautiful handwriting on the egg and thinking that all those flowers, bags, and necklaces were utterly not worth envying. The next day, during their date, Tian Xian asked Zhui Yanji how he managed that. "I wrote on the shell with acetic acid. I didn't invent it. It was a masterpiece from an old woman who delivered military news during World War I along the Franco-German border. You see, the shell is made of calcium carbonate," he explained, scribbling a chemical equation for her. After his explanation, the romance faded, but Tian Xian was still touched. So, in her heart, the only thing that could surpass an egg declaration would probably be a marriage proposal. While she immersed herself in nostalgia, she prepared 3 dishes and a soup. She checked the clock. Zhui Yanji still hadn't returned. Embracing her housewife persona, Tian Xian took her phone and snapped a photo of the dishes, proudly sending it to Zhui Yanji. A quick response came back. "Just finished a meeting, and there's an urgent task assigned. I probably won't make it back for lunch. You go ahead and eat." Such an unexpected blow should have been something she was used to by now, yet she couldn't help but feel sad. Tian Xian suddenly felt like the memories that had popped up today were like a revolving lantern, filled with all sorts of ominous vibes. Was this relationship really nearing its end? She tossed her phone aside, silently went to the kitchen, grabbed some bowls and chopsticks, served herself a full bowl of rice, and finished all the dishes by herself. Looking at the pile of dirty dishes in the sink and the chaotic kitchen, she decided to leave a note on the fridge just like Zhui Yanji. "As your girlfriend who washes your clothes and cooks for you, you must help wash the dishes." She locked the door and tossed the key into the mailbox. She knew that this childish act of petulance was pointless, but how could she seriously say to him, "I want to get married"? Tian Xian was lying around at home, bored out of her mind on the second day of the weekend. Her mom finally couldn't stand it anymore. She sat down on the edge of the bed and poked her, her expression and tone quite subtle. "Hey, what's wrong? Are you okay?" "I'm fine," Tian Xian replied weakly, radiating a vibe of, "Do I look okay? I'm so depressed I might die." A breakup is a small matter, though having one at 30 is a bit tragic. Her mom, unusually not adding insult to injury, still wasn't great at comforting. "I'm not even 30 yet. And who said I broke up with anyone?" Tian Xian sat up in panic, denying it as if raising her voice could dispel the bad luck. "Zhui Yanji hasn't broken up with you, has he?" Her mom looked at her with pity, completely unaware of any issues with her wording. Tian Xian felt wronged, thinking, why should it be Zhui Yanji breaking up with her? Couldn't she just have dumped him instead? He's had years. If he wanted to marry you, he would have done it by now. Her mom earnestly patted Tion Xian's hand. Besides, he hasn't bought a house yet. Are you two planning to live in a rental after marriage? Rentals aren't that bad. Tion Xian instinctively retorted, her voice already choking up. Have you considered that maybe he doesn't want to stay in the city? Her mom tried a different angle. Not leaving right away might just be out of sentiment after so many years. If there were a good opportunity, he might bring it up. Thinking about how she had forgotten his birthday and the pile of greasy dishes in the kitchen, Tion Xian wanted to cover her ears and shout, "I can't hear. I can't hear." At that moment, her phone on the nightstand buzzed with an incoming call. She glanced at the caller ID and instinctively made a shooing gesture, causing her mom to shake her head and sigh as she left the room. "Why weren't you home waiting for me yesterday?" Zhuo Yanji's tone was still neutral, hard to read. "Why should I wait for you?" This double-edged response from her carried a hint of irony. "Do you have time today?" He didn't seem to mind her tone.
No.
"Where are you?" "None of your business." "I'm downstairs at your place." Tion Xian was taken aback and hurried to the window to pull back the curtain. She saw Zhuo Yanji standing at the bottom of her building, looking up in her direction. "Come down. I have something important to discuss with you." He seemed to have spotted her, and his serious tone clearly suggested that she wouldn't have the right to refuse. Tion Xian felt a chill in her heart.
Discuss.
If it weren't something heavy, why would they need to discuss it? What was there to discuss? Did he think she would cling on endlessly? Thinking this, Tion Xian threw on a coat and slipped on her slippers to go downstairs. "Why are you dressed like that?" Seeing Tion Xian appear listlessly at the bottom of the building, Zhuo Yanji raised an eyebrow, his expression somewhat comical. Tion Xian thought that since they were about to break up, Zhuo Yanji still had the leisure to tease her about her outfit. It seemed she had indeed lost her presence in his eyes. Forget it. After a moment's hesitation, he seemed to be struggling with how to start. Tion Xian caught a glimpse of his expression out of the corner of her eye and decided not to let Zhuo Yanji seize the initiative. After being under his control for so many years, she at least wanted to be bold at the end. "Let's break up. Let's get married." Tion Xian's mouth fell open in shock, forgetting all modesty, and immediately grabbed Zhuo Yanji's sleeve. "You want to marry me?" "I was planning on it, but you want to break up?" Zhuo Yanji raised an eyebrow.
No.
"You heard wrong," she hurriedly denied, feeling like a coward. "I'll think about it." He pretended to be lost in thought. "Think about what?" "I said you heard wrong." Tion Xian then noticed his hands were behind his back, and she wrapped herself around him like a sloth. "Where's the ring? Where's the ring?" Zhuo Yanji always had no defense against her clingy tactics. He could only let her snatch the item from his hand, watching her expressions with amusement. After successfully grabbing it, Tion Xian joyfully opened her hand, only to find a brand new key lying in her palm. "What's this?" She frowned in confusion. "Get in the car. I'll take you to see our new home." He finally smiled. "What new home?" Tion Xian was still in a fog. "The apartment I bought, right across from your school." Zhuo Yanji opened the car door as he spoke. 80 square meters. It's a bit small, but with my current income, this is all I could manage for now. "So, you've been working like a ghost these past few years just to save up for a house?" She couldn't believe it. "What else?" He replied nonchalantly. So she had been delayed in her lifelong affairs by a house. Although Zhuo Yanji managed to brush it off with a few words, he still remembered the first time he met Tion Xian's parents. Tion Xian's parents were warm and friendly, and they all enjoyed a lively conversation during dinner. Just as he was about to take his leave, her mother quietly asked him, "Xiao Zhuo, do you have a house in the city?" He answered honestly, "Not yet." "Oh, I see." Tion Xian's mother didn't press further or make any demands. She just let out a meaningful sigh, but with Zhuo Yanji's intelligence, he instantly understood the implication behind her gaze. Even though Tion Xian was a bit silly, her mother was fiercely protective of her daughter's happiness. He couldn't take this lightly, especially since he felt responsible for providing a love nest just for them. Of course, to maintain the image of a heartbroken boyfriend, he wouldn't share these thoughts with Tion Xian. Do you remember that time in our sophomore year when you and your roommate sneaked into our chemistry class? As Zhuo Yanji started the engine, he smiled while reminiscing. Tion Xian's brain was clearly still in shock, struggling to recall that distant memory. We had small classes, so when 2 extra people showed up, the professor noticed right away and asked why you hadn't reported to the office first. He laughed as he continued. You said you spilled soup on your pants while eating pickled radish, and that when you washed them with soap, they turned green. You wanted to understand the chemical reaction and whether it would be poisonous. Tion Xian felt embarrassed, wondering why he remembered such a ridiculous thing so clearly. Wait, weren't we not even acquainted back then? You just didn't know me yet. Zhuo Yanji glanced at her in a good mood. I was sitting right in front of you at that time.
Oh.
Tion Xian nodded. How come I didn't notice you then? Maybe it's because my back isn't as handsome as my front. He replied with a serious expression. She choked momentarily, then quickly grasped the key point. So you were already captivated by my beauty back then? As the saying goes, one becomes red by being close to vermilion. She had been with Zhuo Yanji for some time now, and her confidence had naturally grown thicker. Zhuo Yanji smiled without confirming or denying, but you weren't paying attention in class. You were chatting away with your friends. You're so annoying. How could you eavesdrop on girls' private conversations? She shot him a glare. You said you wanted to get married by 30. Zhuo Yanji finally revealed the mystery.
What?
So it was her offhand remark that led to the tragedy of late marriage? So, I originally planned to propose on your 30th birthday. The changes in her expressions were captivating, making Zhuo Yanji unable to resist teasing her. But it seems someone can't wait. I'm not, she weakly retorted. To prevent you from being coveted by strange people, I decided to act quickly. God knows how annoyed he felt when he saw Feng Zikuan's actions that night. Strange people? Who? Is anyone coveting me? It's better if you don't find out. Wait, are we going to see a house now? Suddenly realizing, Tion Xian exclaimed, I'm still in my pajamas and slippers. I need to go home and change. Zhuo Yanji couldn't help but laugh out loud. Let's go buy some clothes and shoes. He turned the car around, his tone revealing a tenderness he hadn't even realized himself. And let's also buy a diamond ring.